Call to order the regular meeting of the Solvang City Council for November 26, 2018. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Jameson?
Here.
Toussaint?
Here.
Wade?
Here.
Zimmerman?
Present.
Mayor Richardson?
Here. Will you stand with me for the pledge, please? Place your hand over your heart and repeat with me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Manager's report.
We've not had a special event in a month, so we've got another one coming. The whole month of December, Eulafest will be happening, and make sure you show up for the tree lighting on the 7th and the parade on the 8th.
Right.
I think Tracy may have more when she gives her tourism update. But
The parade is important because the Grand Marshal is going to
yeah, be two gray-haired people in it. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Public communications, written or verbal. At this time, please direct comments to the City Council regarding consent calendar items or matters not on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the council. Speakers limited to 3 minutes. I have several speaker slips. Tracy Farhad first, followed by Grave Rossetti.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and members of the audience. Yes, I'm here to give you your tourism update. And I would love to have broken the news, but it was such good news, we had to get it out as fast as possible. But City Manager Brad Vidra will be our Grand Marshal for tree lighting and also the parade, so we're looking forward to that. And nice big article coming out in the paper tomorrow if you haven't seen it online already. So we're very honored that he was unanimously selected, especially following his 13 years of service. So we feel pretty proud to be able to have him represent the city coming up. We have great postcards and posters we hope you'll put up at the city and let everybody know about all the great activities there are. And there are a lot, which is great to see everything going on that's coming up. In fact, this weekend, starting on Saturday, will be the Nisa Adventure. It's a hunt for 12 cute little Nisa elves, both male and female this year. So we'll have to look for all of those. Start your Nisa hunt at the Visitor Center, and we'll give you a map, and you can go around and find all the little guys and gals doing mischievous little things around town. And if you take a picture with all 12, come back and get a treat at the Visitor Center. So we're happy about that. We also have our very first candlelight, VIP candlelight tours. I mentioned those are all sold out. So that'll be 100 lucky people who get a private seating with Santa and a nice little personalized tour around town. But there's also the free candlelight tours. That'll be every Saturday at 5:30 leaving from Solvang Park. So please join us in the park for a great little entertainment, history, caroling, and a walk around to see the pretty lights. So looking forward for all that Yule Fest. We've been on radio, we've done lots of marketing, digitally and print, you name it. It's been all over the place, so we're really looking forward to the numbers and the results of the great season. We're gonna have Santa every Saturday from roughly 12 to 4. I think it's on the postcard, so I should look myself. But make sure you come back 4 Saturdays to see Santa. And again, free pictures in the park at the gazebo. And we do look forward to seeing you there, Mayor, at the tree lighting ceremony to give your usual welcome speech. And we will have a few extra little surprises performance. And that is going to be the 7th. This weekend, no. Following weekend, yes. So mark your calendars, and we'll see you then. And I know that I heard from the Visitor Center staff that the numbers were really high in the Visitor Center over the Thanksgiving weekend. It was great to see everybody out and about and doing their holiday shopping. So I just want to do one little other comment to just say, even though I will be here on the 10th, that I just want to thank the city council members who have been here and who have done such an amazing job. And I've been really honored and privileged to be able to work with you all, and look forward to seeing you around town. You know where to find me. Thanks.
Thank you, Tracy. Gabe Roselli, followed by Shirley Stacy.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, staff. Gabe Rossetti on Old Mission Drive. When something positive happens, I think it's important to bring it to you. We want to, our neighborhood wants to thank Matt Vanderlinden and Tim Keaty. There was a beginning to become a very unsafe parking situation on Old Mission Drive. We brought it to, I called Matt, we spoke about it for 15 or 20 minutes, sent him an email, quite a few pictures. He turned it over to Tim. Tim came out, assessed the situation. Then Tim came out and met with me one afternoon and figured a way to mitigate that problem. The problem occurs, and the entire neighborhood is very appreciative of what they did. The problem is occurring because there's woefully insufficient parking in the Mercantile for their employees. We recognize that the employees are parking on Alamo Pintado, across the 246, taking up every available space on Old Mission Drive and Honey Locust. Two of the business owners have told us that there are agreements that they don't park on site, and it's squeezing us unmercifully. So what Tim and Matt did to help us, we really appreciate. Thank you.
Kudos to Tim, too. He's one of the best.
Yeah,
Yeah, he really is, really good. Shirley Stacy?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and staff. I'm Shirley Stacy, and I am your representative to the County Library Advisory Commission, and I just wanted tonight to not give a lengthy report at all or anything, but to thank you for your support for the library. You've really risen to the occasion, and the library is a very worthy institution, I feel, and serves the community in an exemplary way. I especially want to thank Ryan and Joan and Brad for all the extra meetings that you went to, because there were quite a few of them. And that's an important part of it too. I really hope, my hope is that with the new council, that same support will be forthcoming. It really is important, the community council and the library, in so many different ways. They're just, for its programs, it's a cooling center, it's just so many things. And so we do need the continued financial commitment that you've made in the past, and I do hope that that will continue in the future. And you'll probably see me again talking about that. So thank you very much. And all the best to those of you who are leaving and those of you who are staying. Okay.
Thank you, Shirley. Olivia Fisher, followed by Hank Holmberg.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and staff. My name is Olivia Fisher. I'm the president of the Friends of the Library, and I'm going to try to say this in less words than Shirley used. But the Friends of the Library of the San Ynez Valley are so grateful to this council for really stepping up this year and making a meaningful commitment to the city county library. It's a strange system. No other county in California does it this way, but you have improved it, and we, the Friends of the Library, are very grateful for that. Brad and Ryan, and especially Joan, who I think is as good a friend as the library has in the Valley, and who's been dedicated to that institution for her entire tenure on the board. And we, the library board, wanted to make sure that you all know that we appreciate the work you did. That's it.
Thank you. Hank Holmberg, followed by Jeff Jacobson.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. First off, I want to say thanks for Mayor Richardson for all your dedicated time and effort that you had in this seat for so long. Appreciate that, and congratulations to Ryan. And who knows what's going to happen. Da-da-da. Anyway, I just want to say that I understand that there's a CVS that's trying to open for possibly 24 hours. I don't know if that's going to be a thing that's going to happen, but I was wondering if the council could maybe think about proposing an ordinance to prevent any businesses from ever having the opportunity to stay open for 24 hours in the city of Solvang. especially without some kind of discussion or something. But I think it would be really detrimental to Solvang if we had a 24-hour slash liquor store pharmacy that's open 24 hours a day, especially with the casino being a couple miles down the road. And I think it would be a problematic situation for the sheriff's deputies having an increase in possible DUIs and other crime-related activity with a 24-hour slash drugstore alcohol sales place. So that's all I want to say. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Hank. David, is there anything that we can do about that?
Short answer is yes. Cities have passed ordinances regulating all sorts of hours of operation for various businesses. I'm not aware of a blanket ordinance anywhere in the country regarding 24-hour operations. It tends to be different types of businesses that are restricted. A good example is the state of California has operating hours for on-site licenses for alcohol, so bars have to close at a particular time. So the police power does allow the city to do that.
Do you want to talk about bringing that back?
I'd be willing to bring it up for discussion.
That'd be for the next council.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Would you put that down, in, Brad? Jeff Jacobson, followed by David Shear.
Excellent. Hi, Mayor and Council. My name is Jeff Jacobson. First off, I want to thank you guys for the forum and for a little bit of time here. I want to update you guys on something that is happening very close to where you live, and it's just inside of Santa Barbara County. It's actually the first parcel outside of Santa Barbara County, just to your north. It's on the dead end of College Canyon, and it's only 4 parcels up Friedensborg Canyon Road. My neighbor to the immediate east of me is proposing to build a 16,000 square foot cannabis production facility on a 5.2 acre parcel. Zoned Ag 1, but if you look at any overlay, you can see that it's essentially 100% residential area. If this were just a commercial business, I'd still be here. 16,000 square foot facility. The county's feedback letter came out today. There's going to be 7 on-site employees. There's going to be north of 15 for cultivation when that gets going. All traffic comes through Solvang. Traffic, whether it's employees or otherwise. And so I feel it has a really significant impact that's going to be hitting the city of Solvang. That said, I don't want to leave it as just being a commercial business. It's a lot more than just a commercial business. We can't pretend they're growing sunflower seeds up there. They're going to be cultivating cannabis. That brings with it a whole set of issues that has extreme effects that we've seen hitting across our state and across other states that have legalized marijuana. The simple things just from zoning issues down to the odor, where you hear of students in Carpinteria High School that have to go home from school. There's 24-hour security required in these facilities. There's 24-hour lighting for cultivation and also for security. And the reason for the 24-hour security is marijuana doesn't function like any other business that we deal with in this state. It is dealing in a federally illegal drug. The crux of that issue is that they are not able to utilize FDIC-insured banks. They function as a cash business. They maintain cash on site, and they have to function with private fiduciaries in order to move their money, whether from clients or anywhere else. That creates a prime target. While our state voted to legalize it and has authorized legal growers, there's a significant amount of competition in the legal realm, more significant in the illegal realm. We've seen in Carpinteria where there's been significant gang activity coming up, armed robbers showing up on site in order to steal the cash that's on site, steal the crop. There's places where still out of state where it's still going for $3,000 a pound. And that's one plant, between $2,000 and $4,000 for one plant. And so a 5.24 acre parcel where the first line of defense is myself and my backyard where my 3 boys play. They're 9, 5, and 2. And I picked Solvang specifically here to raise them because it's a safe place. And it's the dead end of College Canyon. That's the first line of defense where these people are going to be showing up.
Time's up, Jeff. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And
Is that within your role?
It's 3 years.
I yield my time to, I'm David Shear, I'm the next.
Well, I would, I don't know. Why don't you, David, why don't you come up and speak then?
Well, I wanted to yield some time to Jeff if I could, because he's speaking on the same subject.
All right, then. fine.
Okay.
All right, no problem.
May I just pass forward a flyer that I have that I'd like to give in your possession?
Oh,
that
if
I
you,
would
yeah,
share?
yeah.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to just interject really quickly. You may speak on your own behalf, but not to yield time to another public speaker.
Okay.
David Shear.
Okay. My name is David Shear. I live at 933 Old Ranch Road. I'm in the unincorporated area of Ventura County, excuse me, Santa Barbara County. I have the same concerns as Jeff, and I think it obviously affects the entire San Ynez Valley when somebody is trying to open a cannabis farm in the area. Again, it may be legal in California, but there should be some restriction about the zoning and location close to children, close to schools, the traffic going through your city, and also the management of the security, as Jeff was pointing out, which is going to be a 24/7 problem. I think the city needs to look at whatever legal means you have to assure that nothing in your sphere of influence would have this type of a commercial property being done in this area. Anyway, I will yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Stephen Jacobs,
Thank you very much.
followed by Charles Stacy.
Stephen Jacobs, 1690 Fredensburg Way. I live at the corner of Fredensburg Way and Fredensburg Canyon. I do live in the city of Solvang. I'm here, along with the others, to make you aware of this cannabis cultivation project proposal and also to voice my opposition to it. Jeff brought up most of the issues: the odor, the noise, the lighting, the traffic, the use of the water, and also the security aspect of that. As a resident of the city of Solvang, this directly affects us. My wife and I moved up here 2 years ago after we retired to raise our granddaughter, who's currently 7, across the street, I believe, maybe out of the county, but right across the street. We have 3 other children. Up the street, we have children. I'm really worried about the traffic, the odor, the noise, the lighting, and the security aspect of that. I spent 36 years with the LAPD before I came here, retiring as a deputy chief. I've seen what narcotics can do, and there is, although this is legal in the state of California, as Jeff brought up, there's still a side of this that's a dark side. The newness of this has not taken cartels or other things out of the realm of cultivation, of growing, of distribution, and of selling. The illegal portion of this is still the greatest portion of how marijuana is bought and sold in the state of California. And the people who are in that business illegally really are not supportive of the people that are in it legally yet. Anyway, I want to voice my opposition and make you aware of it. When I speak today, I'm not just speaking for myself, but I'm speaking for all the neighbors around it. I think you'll find the petition that's going to be put together for this is going to have many, many, many residents of the city of Solvang that are in opposition to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Chuck Stacy?
I'll use my title to show you how serious I think this is. I'm Father Stacy. I was the rector of St. Mark's Church for 30 years here when it was in Solvang, and then we built a new one in Los Olivos. I've got an MS in rehab counseling. I've done a lot of stuff with a lot of people in a lot of situations. I ride a bicycle. I like to ride a bicycle. And when I ride around a bicycle, I see places in this valley that now have cannabis, and they've got armed guards around them. In this valley, armed guards. We don't need armed guards right up there. This is bad stuff, and it's out of control. And this is the first time I've ever come here And people have spoken before me who have felt as strongly as I do. And I just think this is great, but they're right. How would we like, and you know, this stuff, it's got odor. How would you like to have your kids in a school here to have this odor flying down the canyons to their school? I mean, this is, what's going to happen to Solvang? Come to Solvang and get stunk out, because this stuff doesn't stop. It smells. Go along, Santa Rosa Road these days. You been out Santa Rosa Road lately? Just try that and smell it. It smells, it stinks. And there's people out there with guns. Guns, they don't talk about it. This isn't good stuff. We got to be tough, and we got to be on it right now. They're absolutely right. I don't have kids here anymore, but our kids, if nothing else, our kids need a safe place to be. And these people don't make safe places. And who's going to come here? The city's finally kind of gotten Danish Days, worked last year, and people are feeling good about it. But who's going to come to a stink pot? Because that's what this place is going to turn. Because these people don't care how it smells. They don't care. And so this is the time. This time to wake up right now and get tough. Get tough. Be ahead of it. Because these people, they could stop for nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. I have no other speaker slip. Does anyone wish to speak? Please step forward and identify yourself.
Pardon? Yeah, just a minute. I am Herb Bungeon. I live in Friedensburg Canyon. My number is 989. The situation happens on 988, so you know how close I am, just across the street. I have been involved with Jeff since the beginning. He notified me what was going on. I have to say, I lived there for 35 years. We have a very family neighborhood. Everybody cares for each other. And I tell you, I think when that petition goes out, we're going to have 500 signatures on that petition before we get all through. And so I want you to seriously consider to give your full support to not letting this go out of control. Because, as Chuck Stacy said, just to give you an idea, the person that is building next to Jeff, there's a new construction. I met him in the canyon walking, and so he tried to hand me this flyer, and I said, I got ahead of you, I already passed out 30 of them up the canyon, so go the other way. So he said, I moved out of Carpinteria to get rid of that lousy stink from this marijuana stuff, and I come to the valley, bring my family here, and what do I meet? I have to go and fight again. So just be considerate to the citizens of Solvang, and also be considerate to the people that are close by. And you know me for many years, and I'm not a complainer, but this one has to stop. It just can't go on. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Come up, please, and identify yourself.
I have a piece of paper, but thank you. My name's Greg Ulrich. I live on Friedensburg Canyon. I live up on Janilsa. So I've been here for 33 years. We walked the canyon before we bought the property, built our house. You know the canyon. It's basically a one-way canyon. Everybody that lives up there drives up there. That's it. There's no thoroughfare. There's no businesses. When you walk the canyon, there's small 2,000 square foot houses, 5-acre properties, small houses. There's some bigger houses, there's 4,000, 3,000 square foot houses up the fingers of the canyon. And you get that kind of, you get a little bit bigger properties, but basically we're talking about a 15,648 square foot, 7 times the size of most of the residences down there. There's no businesses on that canyon. The traffic, I worry about the traffic, the crime that everybody's talked about. I could go into all those things, but it's just not it's not the kind of business that you want to put on Friedensburg Canyon. And I know that it's legal now, and there's places for it. Highway 154, out by the other nurseries, things like that. I guess if you got to do it, that's where it could be. But up this residential street, It's just not the good place for it. Okay? My input.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wish to speak? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council. Is there anything that we can do?
Again, short answer, yes. There are things that you can do. It is going to largely be limited to commenting on the process that the county has set up, because the proposal is for development within the county. It's on the periphery of Solvang, to be sure, but the county has its own processes for permitting these types of properties, and therefore it would be something the city would look at to make sure that the process was followed, issue any concerns that it might have. As far as closing roads, that is fraught with peril for cities. They've tried it in the past to close streets for various purposes, and they have roundly lost when they've tried to do that. But to the extent the city wants to chime in on security controls, if that's going to happen, or other types of environmental concerns, the city has an opportunity to comment on the process. And my understanding is that it is still in the planning process. It has not been approved, and there's an opportunity for everyone to provide input into it.
Could the city issue a resolution opposing it for specific reasons?
The city council sure could, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to pull that back and discuss that?
Yeah, it's fine.
Want to tack that onto an agenda item in future?
Like right away, like the next meeting.
Do you think we could also get like a staff to make like a map of other potential like hotspots where something like this could be happening?
It surrounds us.
I think it's difficult because the county zoning permits this type of use in a significant portion of the county. And it's just, I think, because it's so close to Solvang that this has occurred. But if it meets the county zoning provisions, it could be anywhere in the San Ynez Valley that has that particular zoning allowable. So I'm not sure. Hotspot, it would be hard to say because it's going to be based on the market, who owns the property, whether or not they're going to put it to that
I just meant
use.
within our
Sphere of
Solvang's
influence
boundaries.
near our boundaries.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I'm aware of several other places, several other ranches that have put their land up for hoops. So very close to our
I don't know that they can
sphere
use
of
hoops.
influence.
Can they use hoops?
Yes.
For cannabis?
Yes.
Pardon me?
Yeah,
That's
it's
what I
with-
thought.
and
That's
this
what I
is
thought.
within this
See,
is
this
within
was
that.
one of people will laugh at this, but this was one of the issues about annexation. We were trying to protect our city boundaries. And here's a perfect example of we didn't go out that way. Maybe we should have gone out that way. Maybe we need to create a sphere all the way around the city of Solvang to keep this away. But we didn't get any support. So
And
I
it-
went to the meeting that Jeff had, as did the mayor, and there were some angry people there. There were some knowledgeable people there. They're going to be well organized, and I wish you the best. And if there's anything I can do to help, I'm in the telephone book, and you have my number. For those of you who don't know where this is, they're talking about Friedensburg Canyon. My concern is this right here, down in that area, is Sunrise Village. This is the parcel right here that's going to be growing it. It's right next to the Rogowski's house, practically. That's how close it is. It's very unfortunate.
If that property were annexed, we would be able to reverse that based on the city's zoning for that property, right?
I doubt those people would even want to be annexed in because they
Well,
would.
there's some
Is it,
people
but it
out
wouldn't
there
be their
that want
choice,
to
right?
be.
We could still annex.
Well, I mean, there's voluntary annexation, and then there's if a city takes the lead on it. There are two ways that a LAFCO, local agency formation commission, could approve it. Typically, it is generated by a city that will do that, but landowners can band together and ask to be annexed. Generally, those in the latter case would not be approved unless the city agrees. But as far as involuntary, that's not a decision the city gets to make. That's a decision that the LAFCO gets to make.
Gotcha, all right.
And the only thing about our where we tried to do northwise, the annexation, there is a park there. Sunnyfields Park is there. So that's going to somewhat protect that area out there because it can't be near parks or schools, et cetera. But shame on us for not looking ahead and taking better care of this.
Well, I just would like to comment on your comment, Joni, and that I think we did try to look ahead, and I actually did want to complete this whole annexation sphere of influence study, and
You wanted to do the financials.
right, I wanted to do the financials to see what other businesses could bring, what we could do with property that we might annex that it's already in our sphere of influence, and I was shot down on that one, so it got tabled. But yeah, I find this quite unfortunate that this is happening at this point. So I think seeing the bigger picture with sphere of influence and annexation, you all sitting here should really consider and look back at the prior meetings where we had so many people opposed to this, and what we were trying to do is really protect the city and keep it solving. And now look what's going on.
Did you, yes.
Do you happen to know what the ordinance is for proximity to the school? Because there's two elementary schools that are right there. There's the rest home that's just up the hill. And that's all going, the road to access this proposed commercial property is going to be.
That information will be brought back to the agenda for that meeting, I'm sure. Okay.
And also Freedomsport Canyon, it says no commercial vehicles. And I believe that they're going to require commercial vehicles to get product in and out of there. So I was wondering if that would be a hindrance also.
Okay. That'll be brought at the next agenda.
And then do we know if on the lot split map, the four-way lot split, what the conditions are on that map yet?
There's three parcel owners on top of the hill that are pursuing efforts right now with respect to water rights, with respect to septic, and with respect to the lot split. The property's also accessed via an easement that goes over my neighbor's property, who's just as angry as I am. And so we're going to be pursuing that with likely a land use attorney fairly shortly. But yeah, there's a lot of avenues we're attempting to shoot this down for.
Do we know what the conditions are on that lot split?
We got it. We're going to have a lawyer read it.
Joni,
Yes.
if we're going to have a discussion,
Okay,
we need to have it.
sorry.
Okay.
I don't get to do this much longer. I'm going to make sure I get my points across.
That's fine. If we want a response from the audience, we'll ask them to come to the microphone. Okay. So it's on the next agenda? Okay. Before or after the swearing, the new or old council?
It can go on either one.
You could put it on both. I mean, you can continue the matter to after the swearing in as well. I mean, it's a unitary body. It's going to be the council of the city of Solvang. It's not specific people.
Okay, yeah, put it on both agendas. We're serious about this. But, you know, the interesting thing is it's going to hit us on another part of the city. And if we support these folks in their efforts, then they can come back and help us in further efforts. So it's a two-way street.
I have your mailing list.
Correspondence, next is correspondence received by the city council from Hank Homburg again.
What about council comments?
Did I pass up council comments? I sure did. Council comments and requests. Would you like to start, Neil?
Yeah, I just want to welcome everybody tonight, and yep, that's all. Thanks.
Karen?
I just wanted to say that I attended the Small Business Saturday. It was phenomenal, and the town was packed, and I went around and spoke to a lot of different business owners just to kind of get a feel for what's going to be happening in the new year, and I had a very enjoyable day.
No comments tonight.
Joni?
I have a few comments that I'd like to make since this is going to be probably my last time. And it has to do with what went on during the election. Comments were made in the newspaper and in presentations at various organizations that I disagreed with, and some were flat outright lies. One was about midweek visitors. We do have midweek visitors. We don't have little conventions or anything, and we have looked at the possibility of having a convention center. We just don't know where to put it, how much it's going to cost, who's going to run it, and if it'll be profitable. So that's something that the next council can deal with. Parking was brought up, that we're very shy of parking. True, we are, but that just shows how successful we are. And we do have extra parking now. We're at Solvang School, and we're putting some in across the street here. The alleyway did not cost $1.1 million. It cost $370,000. lie number one. Traffic is always going to be a problem in the city of Solvang. We are kind of like the little bottleneck of the hourglass, and we need the help from everybody in the valley in order to make the traffic a better system. And I don't know what that is. I think about it, I draw maps, I try to figure out how not to impose more traffic on other neighborhoods, and it's a tough problem. There again, the next council gets to do it. Water has always been a problem in Solvang. Bless the Danes' heart. They came here and they found this beautiful place, but they didn't put the city of Solvang anywhere near where there was good water. So we, in our wisdom, decided to join up with state water. Unfortunately, our predecessors on various councils didn't read the fine print. They thought they were just going to pay for the water. They didn't realize that they also had to pay for the conveyance to get the water here, the pipeline. So that's $2.5 million right off the bat every year. The wastewater treatment plant. We have been scolded for not taking better care of that. Well, it's been on our capital improvement plan for years, and finally we've gotten to the point where the studies have been made, we know what we should be doing, a selection will be made as to how we're going to make it better for everybody. We're not throwing the old plant out. We're just going to rebuild it, make it better. And if we end up having more accessory dwelling units, that's going to be a very interesting situation in the city of Solvang, because where is all of that sewage going to go? Simplification of business and making it more business friendly. It's a great idea, but we do have a general plan we have to follow. We have the zoning and building codes. We have sign ordinances. We have health requirements. We have fire regulations, and they need to be addressed. And if you don't submit a complete plan, guess what? It's going to be thrown right back in your face for the completion. That's not our fault. That is the people that are applying for the permits. Policies and procedures must be followed. No favoritism for friends or backers. Always beware and check and follow the money. Funding of nonprofits. In 2011-2012, we passed what was called Measure Z. And Measure Z was an addition of 2% on the TOT. That's the tax that you pay when you stay in one of our hotels or motels. The community requested that. They wanted us to have funds coming from the tourists that were going to help our community, not just improve things for tourists. So that's where that 2% was supposed to go. It was supposed to go for nonprofits, for library, for sidewalks outside of the tourist area, which we are lacking in. And it would be a shame if those funds were taken away and not used the way the Measure Z people, the Citizens Committee, wanted them to be used. Tourism is our bread and butter. Just don't come to Solvang on the weekends. That's all. That's the easy solution. I heard that the first week I moved here. Don't go to Solvang on Saturday and Sunday, Joni. Okay, I won't. But of course we all do. We all come to town. Since our city manager is retiring, I would encourage the new council to, before December 13th, which is when he goes on vacation, to meet with him and to learn as much as they can, pick his brain about what's going on in the city, what's down the road, what's the history. A very interesting fact here is that as the council stands now, we have approximately 31 years of experience. When the new council is seated, they have 3 years of experience. They have no history. They have no institutional memory. And I find that unfortunate. I think I would hope that they would keep Solvang a safe, well-managed, charming, unique little Danish community, and we all treasure it and we love it. Council and staff members, plus community members, are the team that makes this happen. It's not just us up here or staff, it's the whole community. Look at you. You've come out. You have concerns. You want to be heard. I value that very much. My sincere thanks goes to the staff and the community members who happen to be married to one another and serve on our boards. There's nothing wrong with that. Please remember to check the facts, seek the truth, be courageous, trust and work hand in hand with your staff. They are the professionals that with vast amount of knowledge, much more than we have up here. The city is just not numbers. It's just not dollars. It's people. Thank you.
Thank you, Joni. We're very well said. I agree with that 100%.
Thanks.
The staff are the guys that run the city. We don't run the city. It's the city manager. It's the only person we can hire and fire. All the other employees are supervised by the city manager and his staff. And it should be that way. It's in the city ordinances, it's that way. It's that the council will have no control over any city employee. So, and because of that, we live in a wonderful city because of that man sitting right down there. Brad Vidro has led this city for 10 years now, been in the city for 13, and he's done a wonderful job. That's why he's going to be the Grand Marshal of the parade before he leaves. And he's going to be missed. He's going to be missed because he's done a fine job of keeping our city as wonderful as it is. And with that, we'll go on to correspondence received by the City Council. Hank Homburg is suggesting in a letter to us that the HEAP funds that for the homeless, we should give our funds to the county so that, I guess imagine so that the homeless don't come here. That was the only letter.
Can Brad speak to that, please?
Yeah, we are not applying for any funding through the HEAP program. What we did with our resolution made it available for people, helping people to apply for assistance funds for people that are borderline homeless. So the city of Solvang is not receiving any funds of the HEAP funds.
Okay. That's the only correspondence. Next is the consent agenda. Does anybody wish to pull any items off the consent calendar?
I do. I'd like to pull E, the Integrated Water Supply Management Plan. And the main reason for pulling that is because water is a very critical issue, and I really feel like this would be a good educational item for the new council to be involved in and get involved and work on. It's a very complicated topic, so I would like to pull that.
Would you,
The new council.
You want to have the presentation for this, or would you want to move it to the new council's agenda?
I'd like to move it to the new council's agenda.
Okay. All right.
So maybe could we get a motion to approve all items and table E?
Okay, make a motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to remove all items in table E.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Would you call the roll, please? Been moved and seconded.
Councilmember Waite,
Yes.
Toussaint,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson.
Yes, and that passes with a 5-0. On to item number 5.
Item 5, Stormwater Management Program Annual Report.
Staff report?
Alrighty. Good evening, Mayor Richardson, council members, Matt Vanderlinden, your Public Works Director and City Engineer. And I'm here
Matt,
this evening.
just a second while they leave.
No problem. Yes, fine.
Still.
Matt, you cleared the room.
Don't take it too personally.
I know I'm boring sometimes, but. but,
Okay, you're on.
All righty. Well, again, good evening. And I'm here with Bridget Elliott, our associate engineer. Bridget manages the city's stormwater management program. And we've been presenting a stormwater staff report every fall like this, shortly after we've been filing our annual stormwater report. And so the presentation this evening basically will give you a summary of what our stormwater management program is about and some of the current things that have been going on and upcoming changes to our permit. So with that, I'll hand it over to Bridget, and we'll be available for questions when she's finished with the presentation.
So each year we present, or we have an annual report that we submit to the water board, and our annual report focuses on that year's events, but the permit itself is a 5-year permit. And so each year, over the last 5 years, we've been growing the program, and now we're at a point where we're implementing all elements of the program. And the main goal of the permit itself is to basically prevent pollution from entering the stormwater. The stormwater that we have in Solvang is not treated. On the East Coast, they treat some of their stormwater, and there's some different systems that do that. But here, it goes untreated to the San Ynez River and to El Pintado Creek. So for us, that is the main purpose of the program. It's something that was passed down from the Clean Water Act into the state, into different regions, and then each city has their own permit. So there's multiple elements of the permit that basically are combined together to create a program, and the program is a variety of different things. We have education and outreach and public involvement, because what we're trying to do is educate people and change behavior for things like picking up after your pet. You know, that's one example. Cigarette butts is going to be a big one. Trash is going to be huge. We'll see that in a couple more slides. But we also do construction site inspections. We do illicit discharge detection and elimination. So throughout the city, if residents see somebody dumping something in the storm drain, they can call us, and we receive multiple calls each year. We go out, we investigate the site, we go and we educate those people who are doing different things like washing their mats off behind their restaurant and letting that go into the storm drain system. So those are, that's a typical call for us, is, you know, kitchens being washed and cleaned and the mats and stuff like that, and all of that debris and oil and detergent going into the storm drain system.
Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
What do they do? I mean, how do they take care of that?
How do they take care of that?
Yeah, how do they take care of it if they can't wash their mats off?
So they can wash their mats off, but we just don't want the water with all the residue to go into the storm drain.
So what do they do with it?
So they vacuum it up and they put it in their mop sink with a shop vac. They can do that.
And so then it just goes into the sewer?
Correct.
And that's what you want it to do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to add, you know, we've talked with several restaurant owners, and most of them have large mop sinks and sinks in the back of the restaurants, so they can actually lay out the mats and rinse them off into the sink, or hang them and rinse them into the sink. Another option is there are different services like Mission Linen that can replace the mats on a weekly or you know, whatever schedule, and take those greasy mats away, haul them away, and drop off clean mats. And then they take those to their factory and clean them, and those go to the sewer as well. So, and there is literature available for guidance and suggestions for restaurant owners that have mats and things like this that they need to clean off. And so we have that available to them also.
Thank you.
Yeah, and they can also take them to the car wash too. The car wash, all of the water from the car washes go to the wastewater treatment plant, and where they can be treated for all of those chemicals. Beyond that, we do monitoring of our water. We also do we go through and do program effectiveness. So we go through our program each year and look at it and try and make it more efficient, make it better, and make it more effective for what we're trying to accomplish. And so this just goes through some additional information about that. You know, when we're out there, it's like stormwater. The pollution is a cumulative effect of all of our, you know, of each of the things that we do. You know, if I throw something out the window, that's just one person, but there's 38 million people in the state of California. If even just 1% throws something out the window, you know, that's how these things happen. So in our program, what we try and do is we focus on construction site and their debris and what they can do through site inspections, through enforcement, and through development review and the planning that when the projects come in, we review those and apply certain rules and regulations to those, one of those being the post-construction requirements. So any facility that, or any land development project that comes in, and if there's over 2,500 square feet of impervious surface, then they have to do some mitigative measures on site for their stormwater. So they have to treat a little bit of that. They can't just send that all to our system. And we've talked about the illicit discharge and the dumping into the storm drain system. Only rain down the drain is what we try and do. The good housekeeping, pollution prevention. So just because we're the city, it doesn't mean that we play by different rules. We have the same rules as we enforce within our community. And so we go through and we look at our programs, we track them, we check their, what we call BMPs, the best management practices, when they go out and do different construction work or you know, using water in different ways. This is the annual budget, and as you can see, there's been steady incline in the amount of resources that we're using for the stormwater program. Now that the program is in full swing, we anticipate it leveling off quite a bit. And you can see that about a third of the costs are just construction costs. So the improvements, for example, on 2nd Street, that storm drain that we're installing in parking lot 2, that those funds right there are put towards that project. So that's what the red indicates, and the blue is the overall total project costs or program costs. What's new? So the San Ynez River is on the 303D list, which means it's an impaired water body, and so it doesn't meet water quality standards. And so possibly in January, we'll have some new rules about the total maximum daily loads that are allowed in the San Ynez River. And I'll just show you. This map shows the San Ynez River and the different reaches along the river and the different impairments. So this is something you can find on the Water Board's website. And for our area, what we touch, we will have a sodium impairment and a TDS impairment. TDS is total dissolved solids, and that's like minerals in the water. My understanding is that the TMDL will focus mainly on the lower reaches of past Lompoc, so like the southern part of Lompoc where it's the dissolved oxygen and the nitrates will be their main focus. But we won't know until we have more information on what they'll require of us, but we're hoping that we won't be impacted by that, the TMDL. And then the second part that we're just getting our arms around right now is the trash provisions. And so statewide, the trash provisions, you had two options, track 1, track 2. Track 1 is the option that we're going forward with, and it's the most effective way to address their requirements for not having any full capture, basically. This is our map of the city, and in the grayer areas in the downtown, the TRC zone, over there by Nilsson's building, and then Nilsson's Market, those are the areas where they're high traffic, so it's high density, commercial, retail, industrial, office. Those areas are where they're requiring us to have full capture devices installed in our system. So it's going to collect all of the trash and debris that is in our system, and we'll have to maintain those and then before the water's released. And this is a statewide thing, and we have 10 years to install all of the full trash capture. So over the course of the coming years, we'll be doing we'll be working on the trash amendment and doing those full capture devices in our system, and we'll have all of those installed by 2027. The school districts they are also going to have their own permits now, which is new. And right now they're under our MS4, and we reach out to them for education and outreach, but the state is going to require that they have their own permits come 2020. And so they've been doing a lot of education and outreach with the districts to make that happen. And then because this year, this is the 5th year of our permit, but it was, we were not issued a new permit. They actually kept our old permit, and until they release a new permit, we're held to those same standards. But when we do receive a new permit, I anticipate that we'll just have they're going to go more towards data, more measurable goals, more regulatory, like more collaboration between regulatory agencies, maybe on education and outreach. That seems to be a good place to start for that. And then just less language where there's more wiggle room as needed, if practicable, if feasible. I think they'll probably tighten those that language up in the permit the next permit we have. And that's the end. Any questions?
If I could just add a few things. So this last item, permit language will be stronger and probably require, and the last bullet, the removal of non-mandatory words such as if feasible, if practical, as needed, or as necessary. What that means for the city is increased staff resources. In the past, increased staff resources will be needed. So in the past, if it was feasible, that part of that meant if we had the staff time available to do it. And now, if those in our new permit, if those change, there may be increased staff requirement. Or some of the things we may be able to hire a consultant like we're doing for some of the program right now. We have M&S engineers giving us quite a bit of assistance with the program. But I just wanted to mention that what that really means is the requirements are going to become more stringent, which means more staff time to implement all that. The other thing I just wanted to clarify, Bridget, if you could go back to the map of the trash. Yeah. So it's a little hard to see. I'm going to go up there and point out some little, well, maybe you, with the cursor.
Where do
Bridget.
you want to go?
Just all the little boxes that show where the trash capture projects are going to go. So basically the state has identified, the State Water Resources Control Board, the Regional Water Quality Control Board has identified that just trash off the street is really like the top #1 pollutant. And that includes straws, cigarette butts, all the stuff that we see around town. So our permit requires that we address the trash in what are the highest trash generating areas. So for us, it's primarily the commercial part of Solvang, where all the shops are and restaurants and everything. So we have the option of installing a screen on every single catch basin to block the trash from getting in there and the leaves and just allow the water to go through. But that's very costly because we have numerous catch basins, and also there's a really high maintenance factor involved with that, because you have all these beautiful trees in Solvang and leaves just coming down constantly. And most of the flooding that we've experienced in certain areas of town are partly because of leaves and debris clogging up the catch basins and limiting the ability of the catch basin to, draw in the water off the street. So in reviewing that, staff felt that that is not a good option. It's a high maintenance option, and so the operating costs are really high, although the capital costs are less than our alternative approach. The maintenance costs are way, way higher if you try to address it at every single catch basin. So the alternative is to install a trash capture device. So you have all the catch basins in the storm drain system functioning just the same way it is today. All the trash and debris, and leaves go into the storm drain system, and then downstream, when the pipes get bigger, you have to install an approved device, which is a huge structure, actually. It's like a giant manhole. There's a whole list of state-approved devices that you can use that we have to adhere to. But we're going to be installing these big basins, basically next to the storm drain pipe, where all this trash and leaves will be captured and sort of siphoned off to the side, and then after each storm, we're going to have to go with our VACCON truck and vacuum those out. But so the little boxes on there, I'm sorry you can't read the text, but those are locations at the downstream ends of the different sections of storm drain around town, where we're currently proposing to install these devices. So we're right at the very beginning preliminary planning stages of all this. So the exact locations may adjust a little bit, and we'll be doing further study for each location. But and the type of structure at each location might be different, but generally these structures will have to go in the street somewhere, or on a piece of property that the city owns, because we have to have access and have the right to have the facility there and build it. So part of the improvements for the parking lot across the street, we have the storm drain that runs down 2nd Street, kind of zigzags through that dirt lot and dumps out into the little drainage course behind there. And so in that parking lot, or below the parking lot, we're going to have one of our first trash capture structures. And so we own that piece of property, so we have the right to use that land, and it'll be below grade, so it'll be underneath the parking lot, so no one will really even know that it's there except for the city maintenance staff maintaining it. But these projects are going to be really pretty expensive, probably $500,000 to $1 million each, in that order of cost. We don't have to do them all at once. We have 10 years to implement them. But we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got, I think, 5 locations. Is that correct?
Yeah, 5 locations, I think,
Yeah.
for the
So
long-
5 projects between $500,000 to $1 million in cost over the next 10 years, and then the ongoing maintenance of all those. So yeah, so it's a difficult situation, and we do plan to come back to you with some options for funding for the stormwater program. One of them, of course, is to update our storm drain impact fee for land development projects.
This is a state mandate that we do this?
Correct.
Okay,
correct.
so it's got to be understood that the state is not going to pay for that mandate. Is that correct?
Correct.
So that's something that's got to be.
Yeah, I mean,
corrected somehow.
we will look for any possible grant funding, but
I think-
again, Solvang, unfortunately, most of the grant funding goes to low-income communities, and makes it very difficult for us to compete for any of the money. But anyway, so I just wanted to clarify that so you understand. And you are exactly correct, Mayor Richardson. It's all state mandated. I mean, the goal is great. We want to have clean water in our rivers and clean beaches and everything, but it does come at a fairly significant cost. So
I think that should be pointed out over and over again, that the state is forcing us in this position to cost the city money that's going to be difficult to come by. Is there any questions? Thank you. I
Thank you
have
very
no
much.
speaker slips. Is there anybody in the audience wishing to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council for discussion. The recommendation is to receive and file a report. Is there any discussion?
I'll move that we receive and file.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, passed 5-0.
Aye.
On to item 6.
Item 6, request for proposal for pension and other post-employment benefit, OPEB projections and funding strategies.
Staff report.
Good evening, Mayor Richardson, City Council members. Sandra Featherson, your Administrative Services Director. At the regular City Council meeting of October 8th, staff presented a report on our current retirement pension liabilities. After that presentation, Council had recommended that we do a request for proposal to solicit different financial advisory firms to provide advice on what the staff and the city could do to reduce those unfunded liabilities or pay them off altogether. So as the attachment in the document shows, I've drafted a request for proposal that requests that the different firms solicit and provide information to us on different options for reducing not just the retirement liabilities, but also the OPEB, the other post-employment benefits. I know that's been brought up a few times, and we are currently participating in a Section 115 trust to eventually pay that down. But I thought we might as well include that as well in the RFP, since we're already asking about the pension liabilities, to go ahead and solicit other strategies potentially for paying off or reducing the other post-employment benefits as well. So with that, a couple notes on the request for proposal. I did put in the RFP that City Council, the Finance Committee, would review the RFPs. I thought you might want to do that. Usually staff does that, but if the Council Finance Subcommittee wants to review those RFPs and make a recommendation to the full Council, you could do that. The other thing, under the scope of work, I've identified really the different options that we'd like to get from the vendor who proposes. One is looking at some additional payments that we could make that was discussed about basically paying off the base or paying off the mortgage, the oldest levels first in the pension liabilities, doing a shorter amortization period, so instead of paying it off over 25 or 20 years, shortening that, looking at incorporating additional payments, potentially doing additional cost sharing with the employees, refinancing, using a Section 115 trust. So there's a bunch of different strategies in there that I tried to incorporate that, and any other proposals the vendor might have or options for reducing those liabilities. So with that, Council can request that we make any changes if you like to the RFP, and if not, and it's good, then we will go ahead and get that issued out Wednesday.
Questions of the staff report? There are no questions. Thank you, Sandra.
Okay.
I have no speaker slip. Does anybody in the audience wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council for action. Would like to start?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the city's request for proposals for pension and OPEB cost projections and funding strategies.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Pass 5-0. Next is council member reports. Does anybody have any council member reports besides me?
I have one. Jim,
Go ahead.
I have one, okay. I went to the Community Services District meeting last week, and they have 2 new members that will be sworn in December. One of them is Tracy Beard's husband, David, and the other is Bob D'Ambra. They were both in attendance. A very interesting thing happened in that when Ryan and I first started attending those meetings, they had no way to educate the new people that were coming onto their committee. They didn't give them an orientation. They did nothing. They just set them down and they were there. So I raised my hand way back when, and I suggested that maybe it would be a good idea if they had some sort of workshop or some kind of manual or something so these people knew what they were getting into and what the process was all about. Well, it took them 2 years, and they do have a manual, and Karen Jones said, "Thanks, Joni. We finally have something here for these 2 gentlemen now to learn about how we go about doing things." So that was a positive influence that Ryan and I had on that program. They are a unique institution, and I think you're going to see some major changes going on with the 2 new people that are there. I think the old-timers were shocked. And that's the way it goes sometimes. New blood.
Anybody else have anything to report on? I'll report on SBK. The significant thing is the San Ynez Valley Traffic Circulation and Safety Study Consultant Contract. This is the study that we were talking about that's going to the interesting subject is the San Ynez Valley Traffic Circulation and Safety Study consultant contract. This is the study that's going to investigate traffic in the region from 154 to the 101 and the 101 to 246, or to Santa Rosa Road, and then 246 across. It's a $35,000 study, and we signed the contract to perform that. We had a presentation by CalVans, California Van Pool, which is a van pool that SBCAG or the county is a partner in, and that's I was on the board for that particular project, and they presented the idea that California Van Pool has 2 divisions, a commuter division and an agricultural worker division. And they have about 1,000 vans, and they're self-sustaining. The money has been is federal money that started it for the most part, and and the drivers and the users pay it down. They were talking about the Highway 101 work that's being done as a result that will be continued because Proposition 6 failed. That monies will go to that project and increase its completion. And then there was election of the officers for the chair. For the chair, it would be Alice Patino, and I think it's Doss Williams would be the vice chair. And that's a summary of the basic important stuff. The advanced calendar is 8. The next council meeting will be a special meeting on Saturday, December the 1st. It'll be it'll open up to the public, and then it will go into closed session. It's for the purpose of city manager replacement interviews. And then the following meeting will be December the 10th, where we'll do a change of the council. So with that, this is probably the very last full board meeting that 3 of us will be attending. We leave it to the other 2 and their new things, including Chris being out in the audience. So, with that, if there's any other subject, we stand adjourned.
Okay, Ryan.